Okay, so we are going to ruffle some feathers with this video amongst the Vancouver Canucks and Montreal Canadiens fan bases, and I am fully prepared for that. Today we're talking about 2026 NHL Draft prospect Caleb Malhotra, a guy that has been touted as a very good name and potentially the best center of this 2026 NHL Draft. He's 17 years old, 6'2", 183, all the sauce. He had scored a lot of points in the OHL this season. Pretty good player. The son of Mel Holtra. He wins faceoffs. He scores more than his dad did. And, by all accounts, he is a top prospect in the 2026 draft. Here's the problem with that, though. It's the fact that Manny Malhotra's son has a consolidated ranking of number 13. His ranking is all over the place. Craig Button has Caleb Malhotra at 11. Cam Robinson has him at 8. EliteProspects.com has him at 7, but Kennedy and the Hockey News has him at 5. Meanwhile, Sam Constantino and Jason Bukala have him at 5. Dobber Prospects, on the other hand, has Caleb Malhotra at 20. Make no mistake about it, even though there has been a really big rising stock for Malhotra over the past few weeks, a lot of these scouting reports and scouting outlets can't seem to agree on where it is he should be ranked. Now, just because a guy is ranked number 20 by Dobber Prospects, for example, does not mean he's going to go 20. He could go much higher than that. And that's exactly what Donnie and Dolly mentioned to us yesterday on their program. Rick Dollywall said as of April 13th, he is pretty confident the Canucks would take Caleb Malhotra at 3rd overall. This collides with some of the other information we had heard about the Canucks and their draft interest. They had reportedly been very interested in Keaton Verhoff earlier in the season. Verhoff was the guy that they met with, a guy that they liked, and then a few days ago was reported the Canucks really like Chase Reid too. For what it's worth, Reid has established himself as potentially the missing piece in the top 3 of this year's draft. Chase Reid's consolidated ranking is 4th overall. EP has him at 3. Craig Button has him at 3. One of the guys on The Athletic have Chase Reid at number 1. So it's not a unanimous McKenna Stenberg across the entire body of scouting online communities. Chase Reid is very much in there too. So to hear that Caleb Malhotra could potentially go 3rd if the Vancouver Canucks slip to 3 from number 1, it does open the door to a pretty big conversation. Top Reply says, "That'll be it for me, man. I'm sure he's a fine player, but when will this team learn to not draft for position and draft the best player available? If that means taking a D-man, you take the freaking D-man. Trade down if need be. Do not reach, ever." But the top reply to this tweet says, "Trade down to where? Malhotra is going 3 to 5. Which, honestly, I do feel like is probable. I don't think it's an impossibility that Malhotra is a top 5 pick in this year's draft, even if Vancouver was taken out of the picture. What a reach, man. Adam Bang says, "I think that's drafting per position, which is dangerous for a 3rd overall pick." And it's gone so far as to bringing up some draft conversations we had had in the past. Take a look at this tweet made by Nuck0. "This feels like Montreal taking Jesperi Kotkaniemi at 3 when an elite ceiling D in Quinn Hughes was sitting right there. It could be similar if Vancouver takes Malhotra at 3 with an elite ceiling D and Chase Reid sitting right there." Let's go out there and read some of the replies over here. "Nah, it's more like taking Brady Tkachuk at 3, as Montreal should have done. I don't think it's that bad. Malhotra is a way better prospect. I could see him easily turning into a solid 1C. Malhotra has had a steady climb. I would not be disappointed at 3. You could say the same thing about every single draft. It's a pretty hindsight take." But you do have some folks that are responding to this with disagreement. Tan Beer from Surrey said, "No, Malhotra is not going to be a bust. He's got elite blood. Steve Nash as his mama, and Manny as his father, and he's got elite character. He's fast, elite hockey IQ, and 6'3". Agreed, it's funny how people are still underrating him. He is a tank and a future 1C. Well, to be fair, Kotkaniemi was also 6'3" and comes from a hockey family also. It's not like Manny was anything more than a play-stopping defensive 3C in his prime. I'm not saying Caleb Malhotra won't be good, I'm just saying your thought process isn't flawless. And yeah, I actually would agree with that, to be fair. I don't think it's all that to just say, oh, well, the bloodline will help him out, because taking a look at what this brought us, Jesperi Kotkaniemi also came from a hockey-playing family, and he was a big dude too. Taken by the Montreal Canadiens 3rd overall in a draft class that was seen as a pretty heavy one for defensemen. Rasmus Dahlin was the 1st overall pick. You had guys like Adam Boqvist, Quinn Hughes, Evan Bouchard, and Noah Dobson all going at the top of the draft as well. But the Montreal Canadiens at that time, they needed a center. Jonathan Drouin was not cutting it, so they ended up taking a guy that was not supposed to go anywhere near the top of the draft, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi went from a player that was ranked as low as number 13 all the way to going 3rd overall. You see, here's the thing about Kotkaniemi. We did see rumblings heading into the 2018 draft that, hey, there is a certain need for centers that does exist. Be on the lookout for guys like Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Barrett Hayton to go a little bit higher than we had expected. And as a result, guys like Philip Zadina, for example, ended up slipping from the projected 3rd overall spot down to 6. Quinn Hughes, who was seen as a potential top 5 prospect in that time, went 7th to the Vancouver Canucks. And it haunts Canadiens fans when they look at the past and they say, hey, Quinn was ranked around the 6th overall mark, and then some had him a little bit higher because of his offensive ceiling as a D-man. Brady Tkachuk was also selected in that group of guys. He was taken right after in the 4th overall spot. Brady was ranked as high as number 3 by Bob McKenzie. Montreal passed on both of these guys because they wanted a center. And the idea is, will Vancouver be doing the same thing if they pass on a Chase Reid or even a Keaton Verhoff to take Caleb Malhotra? The thing is, I feel like just reviewing the sentiment of how this draft has built itself up, I feel like Caleb Malhotra hype has been there for most of this season. Like, Caleb Malhotra's name was always near the top of the center conversation because there weren't really too many centers available unless you're a Tynan Lawrence guy, which, okay, that's fair. But Caleb Malhotra went from a player that was playing BCHL hockey last year and was under half a point a game, which is not really impressive for a guy playing Junior A and BC, to totally dominating the OHL in a season and being a double point per game guy in the playoffs. Caleb Malhotra's name was brought up as early as, I want to say, December. Back in 2018, we didn't start to hear about Jesperi Kotkaniemi rumblings until, I want to say, like, 2 or 3 weeks before the draft. Like, the guy was going out there playing in the Porina Sat in the Liga. He had 29 points, 57 games. That's fine. That's pretty good. But I honestly don't remember Kotkaniemi draft talk picking up until like a few days before the draft picks were even made. So I feel like Caleb Malhotra, the mere fact that we have been talking about this guy throughout the course of the season, and it didn't just come out of nowhere like Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Barrett Hayton discourse did, I do feel a little more safe when thinking about Malhotra, and also the fact that his dad played a very respectable game in the National Hockey League. Caleb is essentially his dad, but he can score, which I think is a pretty good amount of quality you can bring to an NHL system. The question is, though, is that the right pick for Vancouver at 3rd overall? Many would say Chase Reid is the guy, and I think at this point I feel like he should be that guy. But, hey, if Rick Dhaliwal is hearing he's confident the Canucks would take Malhotra at 3rd, trying to bolster up that center core with a Malhotra, Rossi, Coots sort of triumvirate, then, is that really what we want? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would Caleb Malhotra over Chase Reid be Jesperi Kotkaniemi over Quinn Hughes? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.